And welcome back to another episode of Cat's Cut Podcast. You're with your host, KF Christian. And we have a very special guest here tonight. We have the greatest and most renowned media person in all of the world, Tristan Pharis.
I wish, but thank you for having me on.
Hey, man, we appreciate you hopping on with us. So, how we doing tonight?
Not too bad, not too bad. The weather's good. Kentucky won last night, so that's a plus. Looks like we're getting healthy. March is on Saturday, so almost March Madness time.
Yeah, we're getting close. And so, gotta let you know a little tidbit on. So the SEC tournament, all the boys are mad at me right now because that's when I'm getting married. Is that March 15th?
That's on you. That's your fault.
I told my fiance, I was just like, just please not during football season. That's all I ask. And then she's like, okay. And then it's that day. Didn't realize it.
Well, I guess at that point, you got anniversaries every year after that. At least it's not the NCAA tournament. So
yeah,
could be worse. Could be worse.
I'll be watching some of like the first round in the Bahamas.
That's not bad. That's not a bad spot. Unless you're at the game. Honestly, I'd rather be at the Bahamas the last few years rather than just, driving up to Pittsburgh, driving back, driving to Greensboro, driving back.
So were you at the last year's first round?
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I had a hotel booked for 3 days, and I checked out of the first night. Didn't even get a refund. I couldn't stay in Pittsburgh. Nope. I got in my car, drove. I literally got back. It was Airbnb actually. And what's funny is Stephen Peak, he does all the video stuff for KSR.
Uh-huh.
Me and him were talking before the game, and he was just like, I was just like, there's no way he can, they lose this game, right? I just had a weird feeling in my gut, like, there's no way they lose this game. And part of that is they lost St. Peter's, and then they win one game against Providence, lose to Kansas State, and they missed the tournament before they lose St. Peter's. Just several years at that point, and you're just like, they can't lose this one. They got Reed, they got Rob. They're so talented, and then they lose, and then you're like, oh, God, that just happened. You watch Jack Golke. I mean, I'm 10 feet away from the guy, he's shrugging, and I'm getting messages from my friends that aren't Kentucky fans. They're just like, just seeing you on TV, you look so happy. I'm like, yeah, not at all.
That's when you put it on Do Not Disturb.
Pretty much. Went back to the hotel. I slept in my clothes. I was in that bad of a mess.
Oh, did you have jeans on?
I had jeans on. Woke up,
bro, you were mad.
I just laid in bed. And I woke up, took a shower, put a story up on what happened, and then drove back home.
Dude, I was so mad that day. I couldn't imagine being there and having to just sit there.
Yeah, you're just like, it really happened. Like, it doesn't really hit you until you're like, oh, you all don't play Sunday. Like oh, it really did just happen.
Yeah, man, Jack Golke, that was just one of them things. It's just like you knew it was going to be talked about forever and ever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
ever.
The dude's shrugging. He's like, looks like, I'm not joking. I don't know how old he was last year. I know he was like a graduate.
He looked 30
or whatever, but he looked 30. Okay. I'm an accountant, and he looked like an accountant. Like, I'm not even, okay. Like, he looks like he could be one of my coworkers. But yeah, that was quite a game, to say the least.
So what you're saying is he's going to either work at a car dealership or have an insurance company in the next 2 years?
He'd be a great pickup for Rec League if you could get him. Great pickup for Rec League. He ain't missing a shot on those guys.
No doubt. Man, that had to be a bummer. So I know you, before we get into that question, tell us a little bit about who you're with and what you do and what you cover.
So there's 2 media sites I have partnerships with, or I started Kentucky Insider, which is the one that's under my name. I started that one when I was in college back in 2019. Kind of grown it. That's my baby. But also I work for Sea Blue. I'm an editor for them. I've worked for them for about 4 years now. So it's been great. I never had any formal journalism training.
Mm-hmm.
I just went to college and got a financial degree, accounting degree. So kind of all this is self-taught how to make a website. Never been the guy that's like kudos to you guys that do the podcast. I'm not learning myself. I've learned a lot. I'm not learning the podcast too. I'll join people's podcasts because I'm not editing them and I can just talk. That's great. But yeah, websites, social media. But seriously, to get where I have a credentialed outlet and been able to cover and kind of get behind the scenes look has been more than I could have ever imagined this would have taken me. So it's been awesome.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what has been like the funniest press conference that you've sat in?
The funniest. Uh, there's a lot of angry ones of late. It's like where will you just like wait for Cal or wait for Stoops for half an hour and you just make jokes with everybody like how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
But as far as the funniest, honestly, it may just be recency bias, and it's not a press conference, but in terms of interview, Kerr was great. Kerr is my favorite. He's one. Take that back. Him and Big Z are two of my favorite interviews ever. They are just unfiltered. I remember Big Z last year when he got to, because he was on campus for like a week before media day. He had no media training, and he was the nervous wreck. Like when we all like, you did a great job. Like he was shaking when he was talking. Like he just isn't used to 15 cameras being on him.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward to like January when he has his breakout game against Georgia, and he's just he dropped an F-bomb in an interview. Like, you're just like, man, this guy has gotten the confidence now. So I love Big Z. I know he's Arkansas. I hated the trash talk when he talked to us a few weeks ago, but I love Big Z as a person. And then Kerr was just, I get it must be a European thing.
Yeah.
They're just unfiltered, and they just whatever they say, they gotta say. I remember when we went to Seattle, and I had a woman sit beside me, and they're like, is he like always like this? I'm like, yeah, he's crazy. Like he was like beating the floor, and I was like, yeah, that's Kerr. So, but those two are definitely my favorite interviews since I've been doing this. They've been, and obviously football, there's a lot more guys, so there's some great personalities, but I'm more into the basketball side, so those would be my two picks.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny. I could definitely see that because like just Kerr, just seeing the videos of him and watching him on TV and seeing him like on the sideline going nuts.
I know he's been hurt. If they had some type of like reality show or like he's holding a camera on the bench, it would be great entertainment.
Have
they
like
probably don't want it. Exactly. They probably don't want that just because they may say some things that you probably don't want them to say. But it would be great entertainment, all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Have a Hard Knocks Kentucky style edition.
Oh, he would Aaron Rodgers to shame from the Jets last few years.
No doubt. So yesterday, the Cats won a big one yesterday in Oklahoma. And none other than the Otega Oweh going back to his old stomping ground and just going absolutely off. What do you think about
it? It's awesome to see Otega and Brandon Garrison have those kind of games, like coming back home. And obviously Otega, that's where he went to school at. Please no, guys. Hey, if they can make money out of it, they'll do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in terms of Otega and Brandon Garrison to have that game where they were at. That was awesome for them. And it was exciting finish. That's probably, I compared it to LeBron 2007 when they're playing the Pistons, Game 5. He scored 25 straight points. That was Otega last night.
No doubt.
As happy and as excited I was, I just can't get over how bad they played defense the second half. And that's really worrisome. Just because it ain't going to get any easier. You're playing the number one team on Saturday because they've made so many like positive steps the last few weeks. You're like, you gave Oklahoma, I think they scored on 9 straight possessions, like 13 out of 15. You're just like, March is like right there.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's just a one game thing. That's the only thing I'm really worried about. And obviously the injuries, just everybody please stay healthy. I think everybody was worried when Amari went down last night. Just like, you get everybody back and then we're going to lose the best guy on the team right now.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. But yeah, just there's something about those midweek games, and you had Reed last year at Mississippi State, just those midweek games late at night and something crazy happens. Those are always fun to watch.
Oh yeah. No doubt. Dude, so the first half, I really didn't get to watch as much. And I threw it on my phone.
Nobody else did.
Yeah. Well, I threw it on my phone just trying to kind of keep up with it. And then I just watched Vandy and
Texas A&M?
Yes, A&M. Sorry,
45 minutes?
Yeah, I was like, good God, like how long is this game going to keep going on? They just kept fouling each other. And finally
Hot take on that. I don't mean to cut you off. Hot take on that.
Good.
It is 2025, guys. everybody has access to the ESPN app.
Hmm.
Just turn to the ESPN app. We don't need. I've seen so many boomer, but I don't mean to categorize boomer. I've seen so many older people that
Uh-huh.
that should be. I understand if you're like never grew up with a phone or a computer,
Hmm.
like that's one thing. But if you're 30 years old, you know how to operate your phone. You know
Hmm.
how to download an app and you know how to log in. Just go to the ESPN app and your problems are
Yeah.
solved. You don't have to take it to social media to complain about it. I rest my case. That's all I'm saying.
And so I had it just kind of flipped up on my phone. Just kind of, I was watching the game. Ain't gonna lie, because I knew like I could watch the good parts. Because like the second half's usually a little bit better than the first. So I was okay with it a little bit. Because I have Twitter notifications on, so I kind of knew it was up anyways. Uh, but then finally kicks on 20 minutes into the game, um, and then I start watching, and then halftime hits like 2 seconds later. And then Otega Oweh just came out, bro, because he had a sucky first half.
Oh, everybody did, except Brea. Brea played good. Lamont played okay, but for the most part, sorry,
No, you're good.
Brandon Garrison played bad. Otega played bad. It just wasn't a great start. But I mean, they had the lead, so
Yeah, yeah. It's I was kind of nervous. I thought we was gonna have another Texas game.
it looks like it. It looks
Yeah,
like it for a little bit.
it scared me a little bit, but
Especially when they got up, I think it was like 65, 61, 68, 64, something like. They got up 3 or 4 points. It's like, and then Lamont fouled out, and then Mark Pope drops the BS bomb. You're just like, this is not going good.
yeah, I knew when that happened we were winning. Like when we got Mark Pope cussing on the sidelines.
Now, do we think he cussed? I don't know. I put it out because when I was watching the game, I didn't
Mhm.
travel this one. My wife's pregnant, so
Oh,
my other than the SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, I'm staying here. But she caught it on TV. I didn't. I was like, "There's no way he cussed." She's like, "Yes, he did." Like, rewind it.
Mhm.
And I was like, it looked pretty definite to me. But if you
yeah,
go back and watch it really slow, he may have said that he's pushing. Personally, I'm gonna say he cussed because I just want to believe that Mark Pope has a little bit of sin in his life. But that's all. He needs some just to be a basketball coach. Okay,
yeah.
like, I'm a believer. You got to have some
Agreed.
fire as a basketball coach. Okay, so I hope he said it. Hope and Pope.
I mean, just go look at the disciples, man. I mean, they were chopping people's ears off. Okay, they were running with Jesus. Okay, so I mean, if he drops a word here and there, that's cool. He can ask for forgiveness. I mean, in the heat of the moment, stuff slips up. We've all been
As
there.
long as Leanne doesn't hear it, I think he's good.
Yeah.
Leanne's.
Hopefully she
she
didn't
may-
see it.
Yeah, as I say, hopefully she didn't see it.
Because he definitely got chewed out. 100%. But, so we've got 3 games left in the year. What do you think the record is on those 3?
Realistically, I'd love to say 2-1, but I'm not going to pick anybody to beat Auburn just because they've got 2 losses this year. They lost to Florida and Duke, which ironically is 2 teams Kentucky's beaten, which is funny. But they have 5 guys in double figures. They're so well balanced. Like it's just you're gonna have to catch them on an off night for them to lose in this tournament. Or if you're trying to beat Kentucky, beat them on this Saturday. Kentucky has the players and talent to beat them. I think they probably beat them 1 out of every 4 games, something like 25-30% chance. You got to beat LSU. You can't. But you just beat Oklahoma by 1. That was a desperate Oklahoma team. But Missouri is one that they're playing really well, but I feel I feel more confident than I should going into that one. And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because Missouri was so down last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, they just put like 110, 112 points on Alabama like last week. So Alabama has better athletes than Kentucky has. So that kind of worries me.
Yeah.
Because they got exposed defensively. Kentucky may really get exposed defensively. But they're also shot a lot of free throws in that game. But I'm going to go 1-2 just to be safe. Don't want to get my hopes up. Go 1-2. You lock yourself into, I think you probably get a 3 seed. Just because they're not going to really punish you for losing to Missouri or Auburn. But if you lose to LSU, you go 0-3, you may look at a 5 spot right there, 5 seed.
Yeah. Coach Ryan says Kentucky's women beating the brakes off of the Lady Vols right now. 24-9.
That's always, hey, well, don't celebrate too early.
Yeah,
We got up 16 against LSU. That's all.
yeah, I was
Kenny Brooks,
there,
though.
dude. So I've never been to a women's game till Sunday,
Hmm.
and like, so I get a little rowdy at the games. I'm one of them guys at the football games. I stand the whole time. I'm that guy. Um, so me and a few others, we go and we're cheering. I mean, we do the national anthem goes on. You're standing doing the pledge, and then they go right into like introducing about 5 minutes later. So I'm standing the whole time. We're all standing. The lady comes up to us. She's like, "Just sit down. Let's sit down." And we're like,
That's that set versus stand debate all over again.
"Yep, yep." Well, wasn't happy about it. So every chance I got, I stood up. But that's here nor there. We'll continue.
Everybody pays for their ticket. You're free to do what you will.
Yeah. Well, to an extent.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
If not within region.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did show up about 3 hours early. We were there at like 1 o'clock, just yelling, being stupid. Like I shotgunned a Red Bull right in front of it. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Hey, listen. It's
You're
a
more
thrill.
pumped than the team was probably at that
Oh,
point.
dude, I
3 hours before.
I was locked in. I was locked in. I was ready to go. Uh, but continuing on. So, how far do you think this Kentucky team will go in the SEC tournament and like the actual tournament? Just like if we're fully healthy, everybody's a go.
Okay, fully healthy, everybody's a go. With except Kerr.
Yep.
Okay, except Kerr. Um, SEC tournament, it all depends on draw. I think they should be good to beat almost any team they play in the opening round. Now, if they fall to a Wednesday game, they should win 2 games. I feel like, but if they get the bye, like the single bye, like I believe they will, I feel comfortable saying they should win that first day game healthy. Now, if they have to play Auburn day 2, if they're like this, I think they're the 8 seed, they have to play Auburn, or if they're the 7 seed and have to play Alabama or Florida, like it gets a little like you're playing a Final Four caliber team in the
Yeah.
second day of the SEC tournament. So I think if they win one game, people should be happy just because you haven't won one game in a while. Like didn't win one last year. I think you won one year before that maybe, or they lose Vandy in the opening round. I can't remember. But
I can't
win one
remember.
game and be happy. NCAA tournament wise, I have been in the belief since Mark Pope got hired, win one game. And I know that may be a little controversial just because of how well and how much they've exceeded expectations.
Mm.
But I don't want to scale my expectations just because they've beaten expectations. That's
Yeah.
just kind of the way I take things. But if you win one game in each SEC tournament and NCAA tournament, most fans will be happy. Now, if anything past that, I think fans will be ecstatic. I probably feel like what most people believe is probably a Sweet 16. Now, if you're thinking Final Four or National Championship, I'm all for wishful thinking,
Mm-hmm.
but that's going to have to take a lot of like if we have to play Duke again, I don't feel like Kentucky beating Duke the second time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good teams, so some things would have to fall in Kentucky's favor to get that.
Yeah, I said this. I think either the last episode or the episode before. I said I think the ceiling, like the absolute highest ceiling, is the Sweet 16, and then the floor is just one win.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Now, if they depending on who they match up with, they
Yeah.
could get like because this team tends to sometimes they've not really beat the brakes off anybody. I think they won comfortably over A&M. They could have pulled away against Mississippi State, and they beat Vandy pretty handily the other day. But or South Carolina, so they've got a couple. But if you're like a 4 and you're playing a 13, like you could have like some dangerous mid-major team that you've never heard of that has Dalton Connect that you haven't heard of, and he
Yeah.
goes off for 30. You just that first round of the game, they're not going to be a 1 or 2 seed, so it's definitely not a lot.
yeah, for sure. So Coach Ryan, sometimes I'm just gonna let you know. He said that Christian just say that he does the pledge during the national anthem. That's bold. Sometimes I just start talking and I don't realize what I say. I meant to say I had my hand over my heart because I did that while I was talking. So that's what I meant to say. Just clearing that up. And then Cody asks, he goes, "Is Kerr gonna red shirt?"
I think what I've been told is they're going to look at a red shirt. Now, I don't have any insight on whether he's going to like be here next year,
Mm.
or not. I know there's been like some rumors like he may transfer, and I'm not gonna like say for sure he's not. If he were to transfer, it's not because he hates Kentucky or he hates Pope. Like he's loved this entire season. Now Lexington probably isn't the most exciting place for a guy like Kirk Risa.
Yeah.
So I like if I'm hurt with a leg injury, he probably wants to go partying at better places. That's all I'm saying. But I do think like you're bringing in Jasper Johnson, bringing in Caden Lewis. You're probably going to go get a guy in the portal just because if Mark Pope's learned anything this year, he doesn't want to be short a point guard.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be next year. And I think that kind of hurts Kerr. Now, the one thing that does work in Kerr's favor is like he has been a guy that Mark Pope has like recruited ever since he even originally committed to Arizona years ago. He's the reason he's probably playing college basketball. That's what he told us at Media Day a few months ago. So I'd love to see Kerr. That's the one thing that I'm going to complain about this year is we didn't get to see and get to experience the full Kirk Risa experience. Like I wanted him to give the biggest L's down in the world. Didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
It's just, so that kind of sucks, but I do think he'll be playing college basketball somewhere because he's not going to the NBA. He's not going to the G League. He'll have a pro career somewhere just because, I mean, he plays for the Estonian national team. So he'll play pro somewhere. But to be determined if he plays for Kentucky next year. But I do think he plays college basketball.
Gotcha. And as we get a little closer to the NCAA tournament, so I asked you this before the podcast, so I'm going to get you to give me 5, like just a starting 5, Kentucky Wildcats, like all-time starting 5.
I'm going to say this, so I'm going to make I'm going to filter my options here.
Okay.
I'm not going to pick anybody pre-90s. Great players, not athletic enough in today's game. So if we're guaranteeing a national championship in 2025,
no Dan Issel.
I love Dan Issel, love Kyle Macy. Like the records are going to stand for a long time. If Otega always coming down the court, I don't know who's going to guard them back in the 70s and 80s. All I'm saying, love Jack Givens, love Goose, but that's just a different era. So if we're going, I'm going to go 1990s to today. My point guard, Tyler Ulis. I think so. The reason I picked Tyler Ulis, Defensive Player of the Year, SEC Player of the Year, was part of a Final Four team. So I mean, he knows he can shoot the three, can pass, play defense. Undersized, yes, but I think in terms of point guard, that's all you need. I'll start with another big guy. I think the best. You want to pick Cousins, but I'm going to go Willie just to have versatility. Because defense, lob threat, can't shoot the three a little bit, but that's going to be start off. So that's probably controversial just because they're not probably the best at their positions, but I think they fit really well. Shooting guard, I'll go Keith Bogans. I think Keith Bogans is an underrated pick. Could really shoot it, could score. A lot of people don't think of Tubby players just because you don't talk about Tubby there that much.
Yeah.
Another guy I think you're going to put in there is Tayshaun. I think in terms of kind of the same thing, like could score, was experienced. I mean, could do anything you wanted to, long, lengthy, could on the defensive end. And now power forward, you got to put AD in there just because he had the best season in college basketball history. He won a title.
Yeah.
So probably not the most stereotypical lineup, but I'll go Ulis, Bogans, Prince, AD, and Willie.
That's solid. I like that.
I don't know if you can guarantee a title just because anything can happen in a one game thing as we've seen in 2015, but I do like all those players individually.
Yeah. That's a solid lineup. Point guard for me, I would have probably went Rondo just because when I was younger, that's when Rondo was, he was the cream of the crop. Like seeing him in a Celtics uni.
Patrick Sparks' mom thought so too. Or no, I was like 6 when that happened. What was the rumor? Was he slept with Patrick Sparks' mom? Or Patrick Sparks slept with I don't know. We'll have to look it up after this show. But
yeah, well,
maybe somebody in the comments can fill us in. But they did. One of those players, there was something going on there. That was like a LeBron, Delonte West situation.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Allegedly, sorry.
yeah, allegedly. Yeah. So so far in the podcast we've talked about Rondo's sleeping with mothers and guaranteeing Kerr back for a fifth year. I'm just kidding.
I wish. Honestly, if that would I would contribute. I mean, I don't have a lot of money. I'm not Joe
I
or Kelly
donate
Craft,
5.
but I would donate. I would just for the experience of Caracrisa, even if he was the fourth option, I would donate a good amount to have him on the roster next year. But
$5.
to confirm, like I said, I'm not saying he's not going to be on the roster, but to guarantee he's on the roster, I would pay a few $100.
Oh. Yep, that we're putting that on.
I don't know if that's going to buy as guaranteed commitment, but I would contribute to it.
I mean, I got some like used gift cards in my wallet, like to some restaurants he could use. Send that into the NIL.
Hey, he likes Mexican restaurants.
Hey, there we go. We'll get a certificate.
There you go.
Just
Take
print
him
it
to
off
El
a bunch.
Camino,
Exactly.
Mi Camino, whatever.
Where's that at?
That's my hometown Mexican. That's my
Okay.
my small town hometown Mexican hangout. I think everybody's got their own. Everybody's got or I don't know where everybody's is. Everybody's got a different Hispanic name at that point.
Yeah, I mean, but you can't go wrong with Mexican food. It always hits.
It all tastes. It always hits. They put a little bit different spices. It's always the same food. Like you walk in, it's like I want fajitas.
Exactly.
And they know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. I mean, especially after like a church service.
Oh, Sunday afternoons at the Mexican. That's a rush hour thing in here.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing like going with the church people, going down to the local Mexican restaurant and just having a time.
Yeah, and then on Thursday nights you have the drunk karaoke night. So you got Sundays and Thursdays, 2 different crowds.
Hey, so I just moved to Richmond. I've not tried that one yet. I like Mi Hacienda down here. I like that one pretty good so far. But I'm still trying. You got to go try them all. There's 3 within like 2 miles of me right now. So yeah. You're right, Coach Ron. But yeah, exciting times right now to be a Kentucky basketball fan. I feel like, you got that hope back with Pope. Oh, see what I did there?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That hasn't been said 100 times at this point.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean.
Thank you, original.
Well, okay, before our first loss in the year, I made a little bet with the podcast. I said if we only lose 2 games this year, set the standard very high. Oh, yeah. Speaking of setting the standard high, you can't get any higher than State Line Co. Greatest hats ever made.
I tried to get one of the backwards. I can't remember. I think it was the blue one that got banned by, what was it? What was that company? 47? Or no, it was Fanatics. I tried to get one before the Fanatics shut it down. Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, go check out State Line Co. Greatest hat company ever. Use Cats Cut 10 for 10% off. But we'll yeah, go ahead and message State Line. Tristan, they'll hook you up. Good people over there. Great people over there.
I guess.
But yeah. So going from what your expectations were with Pope originally to now, how have they changed? Like,
I think everybody's has changed. Like we talked about before I joined, is I don't think there's anybody in this state that was happy the night that he was hired. And if there is, I'd love to meet them because they have to be crazy. Okay. Any Kentucky basketball fans like, yeah, I'm good with a coach that's never won a tournament game, like just right off the rip. I have questions to your fandom. But I think like from that Thursday night to that Sunday was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is anybody else in this country that could have rallied like a reaction like that, like from pure like 90% disapproval rating to like that Sunday. I'll remember I got there early and you could tell they were expecting maybe 10,000 people, and they just kept lowering and lowering and lowering the curtain, and then next thing you know, you're just like, there's 20,000 people in this arena to watch a press conference. It was just the craziest thing you've ever seen. So from going that to I mean, they've been ranked also like in the top 15 for I think they're 17th, 18th right now. They've been ranked in the top 15 majority of the year. Like nobody expected that. You beat Duke, you beat Tennessee twice, beat Louisville. You've lost to Alabama, and you lost some couple duds. But
Yeah.
you beat your biggest rivals. You're like in great shape for the NCAA tournament. I don't know how you couldn't be happy. Now, like I said, I do think that people like I hope they just because they've outperformed expectations. I hope people don't like hold that to them if they fall short of those expectations.
Yeah.
Which is why like if they win a game in the SEC tournament, win a game in the NCAA tournament, personally myself, I'm satisfied. I'm happy. But I hope just because they've outperformed those expectations, they don't say they fall in the round of 32 or something. Or they do get upset to Mississippi State in the first round. While that's disappointing, and this is Kentucky, it's not acceptable. We hear that every time they lose. Like the joy that this team and kind of like the journey each one of these players have been on, like they're all mid-major players. No, if there was any player in the country 12 months ago that was playing for, I'm trying to think where Almanor played. I can't think. I'm just thinking Ainsley. They beat.
Yeah.
What was it? They beat Purdue. I can't think of the. See, that's my point. If you're playing for no names, I keep wanting to say Frederick Douglass, but I know.
Yeah, it's got those same first letters. Oh my gosh.
Not Furman. I was about to say. I was thinking of Furman. It's not Furman. I know it's navy and red, and it's in New York. And so that's the only thing I can remember. But if you have players like Ainsley Almanor and Amari Williams that are playing for Drexel and Andrew Carr that came from Delaware before transferring to Wake Forest, you have all these players that are assembled to a very specific purpose, and they've all like excelled in their roles and have built this team to what it is. And it's just been pretty neat from my perspective. Fairleigh Dickinson. There we go. See, I knew it was FD, and I was like, I know it's not Frederick Douglass. I was about to say, I know it's not the high school in Lexington. But yeah, just seeing how all these players have come together and like the fans have rallied around Pope has been like, for me, that's going to be what I'll remember regardless of how far they go in the tournament. And then we'll see about next season. He's got some talented freshmen coming in, see how he can attack the portal. But if this works with Pope, and I think the jury still needs to be out after one season. And now if they go win the title, it works. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like
but I don't think I don't think they win the title year one. But I do think you can't go out and get 10 transfers every year.
Yeah. So
seeing how he builds a roster, seeing how his analytics kind of help build that and how he does in the future will be interesting to see. Just because he's never had freshmen like Malachi Moreno, Jasper Johnson, Caden Lewis. I don't think they get Nate Ament, but let's say they do get an elite freshman or like an elite transfer sophomore or coming off his freshman season, something like that. It'll be interesting to see how he implements those guys in his system because the system can be a little complicated. So that'll be what I'm looking forward to.
Heck yeah. But like you said, like I remember when we first got Pope.
I never deleted my tweets. I have some tweets out there. I'm not a coward. I didn't delete them. They're still out there. If somebody wants to find them, I was very wrong about.
I'm gonna go find now. I think I made one, and it wasn't even like really aimed at Pope. It was more like
the decision making.
Yeah, I feel like it was rushed. Like that was more or less the like go through all the coaches you want to interview first, and then choose. Like take your time with it because it was like it felt like it was within a week, wasn't it? Like when Cal left.
Yeah, it was.
When we got him.
I will say that week from talking to I talked to so many people that week from fans to players to coaches to media members. I remember I talked to one of the guys really, really close to Scott Drew. Mm-hmm. And he was the only guy that I talked to. He's like, I don't think he's going to take it. He's like, I don't see it. Like that's when everybody was like, Scott Drew, like that's Mitch's guy. Like he's had this in the bag for like, he's like, I don't think he's going to take it. And like even myself, I'm like, wow, this is Kentucky. Like, why would you leave Baylor? And he turns out not taking it. And we had a phone call. Obviously the family aspects meant a lot of it. And but that week was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
I remember I talked to Alvin Brooks that week when Pope was hired. and this is before Alvin Brooks was even thought of as an assistant. He's like, he's a good fit. And then 2 weeks later, Alvin Brooks gets hired, and you're like, okay, you thought he's a good fit too. Okay.
So how much like is it true that somebody called that Mexican restaurant and like?
Oh, that's 100% true. Now, I was not in the Snapchat leak but I seen that going around. But I do know that that Mexican restaurant was called. I think they even have like a little framed picture of that now, and hanging in there. That is the craziest. I want to see a job search get that extreme again, because I don't think it's going to happen. In North Carolina, it's not going to happen. Duke, that's not going to happen.
Indiana,
Louisville, Indiana, I don't think that'll happen just because they're desperate.
Yeah,
they just keep getting mad because they're not going to get anybody. If they don't get Chris Beard, I don't know who they're going to get.
Patina.
You get Patina. Get Patina. Bring him back.
Bring him back, baby.
Bring him back. He goes to a 6th school. I don't know, man, but yeah, that Mexican story is that's definitely gotta be the craziest thing, and I wonder how much that Mexican restaurant call factored into his decision. I would love to be able to talk to Scott Drew
and just
be like, did that weight any part, just like the craziness of a fan to call a Mexican restaurant and be like, hey, is Scott Drew there?
Yeah.
Just see if that had any effect on his decision, because I feel like it maybe, even if it was a 1% that does, that would be the funniest thing ever.
So like how? I just want to know like how they talked the restaurant into like giving him the phone.
Well, there is I think, I don't remember how it goes. I'm sure you can look up the message of how he explained it. But apparently he was just like, I need to talk to Mr. Drew, like a Scott Drew there. Dude, if it wasn't for Happy Wives, we would have. Wives almost destroyed Kentucky basketball before Leanne Pope, okay? Happy marriages were like, I loved those jokes. They're like, if you have a happy marriage, Kentucky basketball is not for you. And like, those are the, like Richie Saunders, who's at BYU, like his wife was like, I don't really want to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy marriages for a few days was not kind to Kentucky basketball.
Yeah. And that's what's funny. It's like, we don't realize it, but this fan base is aggressive. And like, if you're not used to it, like you wouldn't notice it. But like being around like SEC fans and like interacting with other SEC schools, it's like you're used to it. But like these guys that are at smaller schools and they come to that, it's like, you know, that's got to be like a shell.
If anybody wants to see a taste of the Kentucky fan base, just after one loss, just scroll on Twitter, type in BBN, and you'll get your taste. You'll get your simple, like it's yeah. I just kind of sit back and laugh after they lose sometimes, and I'm just, you think the world's falling down. Like I think everybody took the Alabama loss pretty well. Vandy loss was pretty bad response. You just, I do, on a positive note, I like seeing that response more than the pessimism that you've seen in Cal. They kind of got that apathy feel to it. So people are definitely more passionate about losing now, which I guess is a positive. It can be a little extreme sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so funny. It's like a loss. It's like you're without half your team and you lose a game. I mean, you shouldn't lose it. It's like, yeah, it's like right off the rip. I'm kind of used to hearing fire the coach. I mean, I'm a Browns fan, so it's like every 10 weeks.
Every year thing.
Yeah, it's an every year occurrence, except 2023 and 2020. I thought we was going to the Super Bowl. But yeah, it's funny. I like to joke around in our group chat that we have, and I like to get Justin riled up because I'll just take something like, this team's soft. They're soft, and he buys it every time, and he just gets mad. It's funny. But
everybody, a lot of people have that opinion, but dude, I get, if I had to play in SEC as a basketball, now I'm 5'8", 160. So if I had to play in the SEC at my frame, I'm soft. Sorry, definitely soft. But I do think they have. I think Amari is a case to look at specifically, and Brandon Garrison. I don't know if you guys feel the same way I do, but when I watched Brandon Garrison and Amari Williams in like November, they did not feel like, I don't think they realized how big they were. If I was Amari Williams, I was 7 foot, 240, 250. I would be breaking the rim every chance I could.
Oh, no doubt.
That man wants to lay up. He wanted to lay up so many balls at the beginning of the season. He's gotten better at that. But I think the Florida game was really like a breaking point. I think that was like, obviously that was the SEC opener, but Amari was like, yeah, I can realize I need to throw more muscle around, and I think you've kind of seen that since then.
Yeah.
But I think some people get confused. They call soft and bad defense like they kind of think it's the same thing when it's not.
Yeah.
This Kentucky team's just not very gifted athletically and lateral quickness.
Yeah. See, I thought the growth, like you said, of Maury Williams from the beginning of the year to now has been amazing, because I felt like early in the year, and I mean, sometimes you'll sit here and there, it's like there's a rebound that he could get or attempt to go get and fight for that he wasn't early on, but he's starting to fight for it a little more. I mean, he's getting more boards, it feels like every other game.
Now, I think it was like early December, I may put in a tweet. I've been like a Mario Williams defender from like the beginning.
Yeah.
Like I know everybody's like, he doesn't play hard. Like my only gripe about him to start the season was he let his emotions get to him way too much. And he still does at times, but that's gotten better. But if you looked at the numbers, especially the analytics, which I guess I sound like Mark Pope right now, the numbers eventually equal out. So, like, there may have been some rebounds where he didn't look like he was getting, like, he may have not looked like he got a rebound or something. But if you look at the offensive rebound numbers, he was putting up, like, I won't say Oscar Tshiebwe numbers like he is right now.
Yeah.
The last few weeks. But he was putting up, I mean, they were leading the nation numbers still. And I'm just like, how does it look like this? But the numbers look like you're like, how? Like, it's crazy, and I think the last few weeks you're finally seeing it like to level out. Those analytics are like proving themselves, because that dude, I think I looked at since like February or March, it was either late January, early February, he's averaging like 18 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists. Like, if he's not an all SEC pick, I need to go talk to some fellow media members that are voting, because I think at this point he should be locked as a first or second team selection. So.
Yeah. So we do have a question. It's not about basketball. It's about football. It's but it's not necessarily about football. It's about the schedule. It's from Cody. It said, would Tristan, sorry, close names, be okay with maybe losing the Louisville, I'm guessing you meant Louisville game in football because of the new.
Now, new
closer,
schedule. Okay, I thought I was supposed to say we lost this year by quite a bit. I was at that one. That was very bad. No, I wouldn't be okay with it. Here's the way I look at Kentucky football, and maybe it's just the pessimist in me. We are never going to compete for a national championship. Kentucky football will be. It has given me some great joys in life. The rushing the field at Florida, like some great moments. We're never going to compete for a national title. Maybe once in like a half century. Okay, we may get some generational player that just comes in here and whatever. So for that reason, I want to enjoy the season. Like last year, they were 5-6 going into the Louisville game, or 5-7. They ended up finishing 5-7 last year, right? I believe so. So they're 5-6. They were going 5-6 into the Louisville game. Like, beating Louisville wouldn't have like redeemed the season for me, but it was kind of like the year before. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, you sucked all year, but at least you beat your rival. That's where I'm at it. So losing that game and not being able to play Louisville, and then you'd have to hear the Louisville fans like, "You're gonna clip this." Hey, if it happens, it happens. I'm available. I'll talk about it. But
I've kept a lot of these comments like off of here. I mean, there's been so many about football.
If it was up to me, though, like Kentucky should play 12 power teams. I don't care about beating Toledo, okay, which we may lose to Toledo this year. Toledo's really good.
They got Chip Trainum.
They got Chip Trainum. They got another transfer. They beat Mississippi State by like 30 last year. Like, they're not a bad like mid-major team.
Hey, Mac School's got all my they got my attention. Yeah, when Maction hits the TV, I'm watching, bro. I'm just saying, if it's a game with Toledo and like the third quarter, like, it's not going to surprise me, and I'll probably be mad about it. But I want 12. Put Bama on the schedule every year, and I hate that.
because I have a really close friend that's in Alabama. He lives in Alabama. He's from Alabama,
Yeah.
but he's an Alabama fan. He sent me something the other day. It was like the most lopsided conference or most lopsided series in each conference, and it was Kentucky, Alabama. I think it was like 45-2. Like we beat them twice ever. They beat us 45
It's the
times.
Bear Bryant curse.
Now, I replied with the basketball record, which wasn't great because we just lost to them the day before, too, because this was on Sunday. I think the basketball record was like 140-40, so it was a little better. But I just want to enjoy Kentucky football. I don't expect greatness, I guess to say. I don't expect, like, playoff appearances every year. So to lose the Louisville game would suck for me.
Yeah.
Because you would, and then you'd have to hear the Louisville fans like, we beat you by 30, like 2 years ago. Like they still have to play this year because it's scheduled. But let's just say we lost to them 2 years in a row. Could you imagine how much Louisville fans are going to talk?
Oh man, it'd be
like
bad.
you cancel the series because you can't beat us.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah. See, I know they can't lock it in, but I think it'd be good for a rivalry game if they had to go away from the Louisville game. I don't think they will. I think they'll keep that because that's a big money maker. I mean, rivalry games, you talk trash all week, you go to the game, you get a little rowdy, a few fights happen here and there. But if they could lock in a team from the Big Ten, if they could lock in like Indiana every year, I think that'd be sick. Have that rivalry game.
I do like that about the proposal where we play one Big Ten team because I think that would be cool. Now, I would hate to play Ohio State. Imagine playing Ohio State and Alabama the same year. That would be.
I don't think we'd ever have that problem.
Because I think the way it's correct me if I'm wrong, it was the proposal was they look at like a certain amount of years and match that up with the Big Ten, right?
Yeah, it was like they're going off like standing. Whoever finished like first,
so I'm
play
good.
first.
I'd be good with that. Like playing Michigan State, like having the recruiting battles that we've had with them over the years. Playing like Minnesota. I have no strong feelings about Minnesota other than the Tubby Smith coach there.
Yeah.
But it would be, I think it'd be cool especially if the proposal means that the SEC games are what matters to get into the conference playoff. Because now I do think that's a negative for Kentucky because I don't think they would ever, like they've only went positive in SEC play like 3 times in the last 2 or 3 decades.
Yeah.
Like that would be hard to make the playoffs without going positive in SEC play. But being able to play, let's keep Louisville. You got your 8 or 9 SEC games and then play a Big Ten team. I'm good with it. Yeah. And I kind of side with Nick Saban. I think he talked about it the other day. It was like, what's the point of playing mid-majors if they're just going to look at your conference record? Because it's kind of like how all these teams load up their slates schedules in basketball. They want to play all these elite teams to prepare themselves.
Yeah. So, but could you imagine if we did upset like an Ohio State or a Michigan?
I'd never shut up.
Oh, dude, I would be the most irritable person on the internet. Like, I would drive to that other team's stadium, shotgun a Red Bull, and I ain't gonna say what else I'll do. I'll tell you after.
We don't have to, as long as if we beat Ohio State, that's the national championship for me. Okay, I'll settle for that. That's our Super Bowl. I will admit that will be our Super Bowl. Yeah. I have no problems in denying that.
Yeah.
Now the coaching staff probably wouldn't like that, but I would 100% accept that.
We'll put the banner up. Fan made banner.
Hey, Louisville's got a guy. Louisville's got a guy. Number 1 poll in 2013. I love that.
That's so funny. Yeah. He said it wouldn't be an upset on Michigan.
Yeah, they do suck this year.
Harbaugh was Michigan.
Yeah. So I guess that begs the question. I know what my answer would be. Would you tank your program for a national championship?
For a national championship?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Put me on probation for the next decade. If I'm Kentucky, put me on probation for the next decade. I'm taking a national championship. Let's get Connor Stallions on staff and let's turn this around.
Dude, I don't understand why that's a problem. Well, so, change your stuff up, hide it better. I don't know if
I'm glad you're on the same page with me on this. I don't understand. Like in basketball,
You
People
get the
know
scout.
play calls. You get the scout. You know the play calls. You know the hand signals. If you're at football, like I understand, there's play sheets and
Hmm.
maybe it was cheating, but if you know what the other team's running,
Hmm.
I mean, just be the better team. Like run it better. I mean, I don't know what else. Like I know, like that's the whole point of scouting is you're
Hmm.
trying to find out what the other team is doing.
Yeah.
So if you scouted better and you cheated, sorry, like
Like,
change up your stuff through the
yeah.
first quarter. If you're identifying like you're in the first quarter and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
they got our stuff, like change some stuff. Like it's
Uh,
not.
all right. I know Mark Stoops would never listen to this podcast, but if you're listening, if you'll just fly me out to the games, buy me a nice steak dinner, I will scout everything. I'll record the whole game on my phone, zoom in. I'll get a media credential somehow. I'll sneak on the field. I'll steal a playbook. Just get me a natty. Like, bro, I I get it. We're a basketball state. That's what this is. I would do some very bad things for a national championship in football. Like, I would put Trent in the Gatorade. Like,
Oh
we,
Lord, that
like,
is bad stuff.
I mean, like, whatever it takes. I don't know why we can't do that.
Yeah, I I'm not optimistic going into this football season to say the least. Not
Yeah.
very optimistic.
See, the one thing that does get me excited is I am a nerd when it comes to football, and I love watching offensive line. Like, I love watching run schemes and blocks, and watching guards and tackles pull in the run game. It just, it gets me hyped. It's like I get up.
Yes.
I'm like that old
So
school.
has it been like a horror movie the last few years when watching
Yeah.
that?
Well, I mean, a good passing attack I can get behind, but like, give me a good offensive line and let's run the ball 28 straight times. I'm that guy.
So you're vintage Mark Stoops.
Yes, like
Vintage Mark
I'm
Stoops.
old school, like back before the pass was invented. Like
So
when
we're
they
gonna
we're
put on
going
the
back to
leather
like Otto
helmets.
Graham when they're playing with no helmets. People are actually like about hurting people, like life injuries or
So do you watch Iowa football games for fun?
sometimes, yeah. Uh, no, they don't have any offense at all. Like, dude, they put out a thing a few years ago on or not LinkedIn, Indeed, for the offensive coordinator position.
You
I
should have
applied.
signed up.
I applied. I said after many years of crafting and winning multiple championships through Madden, I think my skill set and my knowledge would. So, I mean, but I mean, Mark Stoops, I'll come in there. I've got NCAA plugged up in here. I can just steal a few plays off there. I can call plays if you need it.
Just bury on
Um,
the street. Bury on the
exactly,
street.
dude.
That's
It's so overpowered. Like, you could have like the punter throwing the football as long as he gets a good 5 yards in between. It's gone. Like, I mean, he's
I played college.
set.
That was probably my most game. I played college football quite a bit, and
Mhm.
they hated me in the online dynasty for the first 2 years. Barry Brown won Heisman both years. He had like a 3,000 yard reception season.
3,000 yards.
Oh yeah, I fully committed. I fully committed. He had like, I remember there was like one guy, and we don't play on like a low level. Okay, what's the highest level? I think
It's Heisman.
Heisman. We play one below Heisman because we don't like the sliders for Heisman.
Oh yeah.
So the sliders for Heisman are crazy. Side note, really hope the play action works in the next college football game
Oh
because
my.
that's broken.
Dude, the
But
offensive line will not block.
oh,
Bro, you could
it's
be
the
going
funniest thing
against
ever.
a high school team, and you could have 99 offensive linemen across the line. You're back there more than 2 seconds, bro. Two of
You're
them guys
done.
are coming off the
You're
edge and
done.
getting you.
You're done. And then it's like if you get a lane, you'll have like an offensive guy leading the block, and then he'll just run to the right, and then
Dude, it's so
he's like, "I'm
broke.
going home."
Like, they
But
put so much detail into like getting the stadiums and all the teams and all the
yeah,
players, and they
I was
forgot
gonna
the
say,
actual
I'm
gameplay.
glad you got the drum that we don't use in the game, but did you get somebody that blocks?
Yeah, me and Cody found it last year. I
Oh,
didn't
did you?
realize. Yeah, I didn't realize they kept it on. It's like right where the students enter in at.
Oh
It's that
yeah.
first glass door past it. We
Maybe
went
we
in
need
there
to
and
be
hit
like
it.
the Panthers and bring it back.
We went in there. I smacked the crap out of it. I about like broke my hand because I hit the side of the drum with it. It was red the whole game.
I do wish Kentucky would have some type of cool pregame tradition
Like let
outside
a
of just
tiger,
playing.
like bring a wildcat out there, and just let it run loose. Nobody with it.
But just put it in the is LSU. They put a tiger. No, they don't put the tiger in the cage anymore, do they? I don't think so.
Every once in a while they'll have a
Everyone's,
tiger out there, but
see, this week if the LSU can do it, we can do it.
exactly no. But hear me out. You let it run loose. You let it lead the team out. But you
Insurance
have a guy.
companies are
You
not
have a
like
guy up
that.
top, and you got him with like a tranquilizer gun. And he just
There are, if you pay attention, there are, which I think they're. I, sometimes they have firework guys, but they do have like police and like security.
yeah.
They do have guys standing up there with like. If you look at if you look in the corners of the game, you'll see them.
Oh
No, I see. I'm not a Panthers fan, but I have a really close friend that is, and I let him hear it every chance he get. Now, I do. Bryce Young's a feel good story because he was almost like, and it's crazy. I guess I'll get on a side tangent, which I guess most of this podcast has been a side tangent.
yeah. Like that's what we thrive off of.
But Bryce Young, like, I hate how quarterbacks are just thrusted into the NFL, and if you're not successful within like the first 2 or 3 years, you're done for. And I do think it's cool, like Bryce Young, like that dude looked like he couldn't run in a game to start the season. And then he kind of got a few games and built his confidence back. And the dude almost beat the Eagles. Okay,
Yeah,
if
and the
they could have
Chiefs.
just caught, if they just could have caught a pass, they would have beat the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah,
But
that's crazy. Yeah, and I think another side tangent. I think C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels have made the rookie quarterback now a different standard. Because
yeah,
used to, you wouldn't expect a playoff run. You would expect, come in, show flashes. That's all they were pretty much asking you to do. Win a few games, show some flashes for the future, something you could build off the next few years. Now it's like, if we ain't going to the conference championship, this was a bust.
poor Will Levis.
Yeah.
Just give him another shot.
Man, he's had a tough 2 years since he's been gone.
Off, on, and off the field.
Yeah, no doubt. And he has like a mayonnaise cologne now.
Yeah,
Can't
that was
confirm.
weird. You could have bought it. Oh, did you buy? Were you one of the ones that bought it?
I'm wearing it at my wedding.
I don't know.
I'm joking.
I was gonna say, if you're that committed to the Will Levis thing, but yeah, that poor man, he lost Leah Duddy or Gia Duddy, and his starting quarterback position.
Yeah. Man, okay. I'm going to ask you a question about Will Levis. This is last year in Kentucky. If he doesn't get hurt in that Ole Miss game, like that's when I felt like it started. I know it was just a hand, but then the Mississippi State games when he hurt his shoulder. If he doesn't have either of those injuries, where do you think we finish that year?
What was the record that year? 7-5, 8-4,
Yeah, I was 7-5.
7-5. It's saying you probably win. I don't think you lose South Carolina the next week. That game was bad.
Yeah.
And I hate to see South Carolina be successful, just because the kind of the rivalry that's built between the Pope, or not Pope, Stoops and and the guy with sunglasses is what I'll call him, the guy with sunglasses and Stoops. But I do think they probably go. I don't think they'd go 10-2 like they did the year before, or 10-3, whatever it was. But I think they probably get another. I think they beat South Carolina. So I say they go 8-4 that year. So I'll give them one more win.
Okay.
But
see, I would have thought 12-0, pushing for a natty. I'm kidding.
with Rick Scangarello,
The most predictable offensive coordinator ever.
yeah, dude, I do kind of feel bad. I feel bad for any offensive coordinator Kentucky's had last year, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I kind of do. Rich Scangarello, he may have not been a great offensive coordinator, but he's not stupid.
Yeah.
And him and Liam Cohen when you talk to them, they were just like, these players are not doing what I want them to do. And at some point, you're just like, what? They can't do anything else. So I do think he kind of got the shaft.
Yeah.
But
I think it had to be rough going from dealing with NFL players for so long.
and you're just like, do
stepping
this,
down.
and they know.
Yeah, it's like you have people like actually listening to you, being attentive, trying to actually, because like they're like in college, I feel like their outlook on it's different. It's like year in year out, you can play Kentucky this year and make so much money, and then you could hit the transfer portal, go to some other school across the nation, make way more money, get these crazy stats, and then go to like Bama or Ohio State like 2 years later and make an absurd amount of money. Like that's
At least in the NFL, your key players are signed to multi-year deals.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one reason why Liam Cohen wanted to go back to the NFL.
Yeah, no doubt. It's got to be a lot easier because I mean, you're begging your players to stay every year now in college basketball and football.
And with this revenue sharing and all the more money that's about to, I'm curious how that'll, because I think what Georgia said they're going to pay their team salary is going to be like $13.5 million. So that'll be interesting to see how that's all divvied out.
Yeah, it's I think the NIL is kind of crazy. It's like how everything's kind of laid out. It's like they need to put like a salary cap. I know some schools don't make as much as others, and it's going to be harder to institute all that. But I think the transfer portal also needs some new rules because I think you should only get the transfer out one time. I don't think you should be in college for 6 years and play for like 7 different schools.
I have the John Calipari approach to this. He has said this. I'll probably say it again at Moorwise at Arkansas. You got 5 years to play for. The way I look at college sports, we shouldn't have Chad Baker-Mazara, who's 25 years old, playing on Saturday. That man still has another year of eligibility left too. That's just crazy. Because at this point, let's say you have an 18-year-old quarterback. Let's say Arch Manning started as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
You have some 27-year-old dude that's been lifting weights and probably taking some type of substance that's not being tested in the SEC. Let's just be honest. And he's like 300 pounds and like takes like at that point you're just like he is a legit. He's not good enough to be in the NFL, but that dude has an NFL body, and they're like. It's kind of crazy. I don't see how the NCAA changes it though, because they would have no power right now. So. Not to get into politics, but there's going to have to be some stuff made in terms of laws and like guidelines to even give them any type of power back. So
yeah, it'd actually take an act of Congress.
Yeah.
Like
legitimately.
Like, but yeah, it's like, I think this would be my approach. If I had any say, it would be you sign your original letter of intent to go to the school. You have one opportunity to transfer within those 4 years. But if your coach gets fired, or the person that recruited you gets fired, you haven't. And
I do think there are, in which I guess it was kind of like this in years past. Like you can apply for waivers. Like let's say your mom like a family member gets sick, or like you had those type of cases. But yeah, I feel like just to transfer, you get one, and then maybe as a grad you can transfer a second time. It's kind of the way I look at it. I feel bad for that whole team, man. Devin Askew was bad, but I feel bad for that whole 2020, 2021 Kentucky team. They just Calipari had a mullet. Okay, like you think they got the best out of the staff and the fans? Like that was a crazy year, is all I know.
Yeah. But hold up. Oh, my bad. Let's see. Oh, Cody Green with a very important question. Does Tristan play COD?
I did play until like January of this year, and I've quit playing. Okay, I started putting out like can't remember what update it was. They put out like something with like ponies, and I was like, you've lost me.
No, the first thing that popped into my mind was that song that's real popular. That the Pony Club one.
I'm a straight man, and
That's
my wife plays that.
one.
My wife plays that in the car, and I'm not going to tell her to change it.
Hey, well, you said your wife's pregnant, correct?
She is pregnant, so
Hey,
it
right now,
works.
you've got to, she might,
I'm just
you
saying,
know.
I like the lyrics for one thing. I listen to music. If it's got a good beat, I'll listen to it. It's got a solid beat.
Hey, okay, okay.
Got a solid groove to it.
Hey, I'm with that. Never mind. I would throw some of these up, but I'll show you after the pod. But Tristan, thank you so much for hopping on the pod with us tonight. Go ahead and plug all your socials so everybody can go follow you, and if they already aren't.
Yeah, you can follow us on Kentucky Insider Sue Blue on Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. You can follow my personal accounts. Just look up my name. I think I'm Tristan Uda on most of that stuff. If you don't know what the Uda's for, it's my middle name. I got that from my grandfather. Passed away, so it's kind of a homage to him. Some people ask about it. So, but yeah, just follow me on there. Hopefully, Kentucky basketball does good, and I can keep you all updated for several more weeks, and I get to stay in a hotel for longer than one night. So.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you again for hopping on. It's been awesome. 100%. We'll be asking you back for sure.
Appreciate you having me on.
But as always, go Cats.